there's all kinds of things that you can add to your keto lifestyle or that you can add to intermittent fasting to get more out of it. So I'm here in the spice section, and we're going to take a look at spices. We're going to take a look at different salt, pepper, things like that that you can add to your keto lifestyle to get more out of it. It's that simple. So let's go ahead and let's dive in. Okay, I'm going to jump right in with one of my favorite things. Okay, simple sage. Okay, so sage is one of those Mediterranean spices. Now in this case, Target has just straight up sage, nothing added to it. But sage is one of those spices that is unique when it comes down to fatty acid utilization. You see, it helps what is called PPAR alpha activation. Let me explain what that means. So what that means when you have something that is going to activate PPAR alpha is it means you're going to allow your body to become more fat adapted. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now, what does that mean for keto? That means that your body is going to be able to utilize fatty acids better. That means at rest, your body starts using fat more for fuel rather than when you are exercising or when you're moving about. So it's a pretty powerful thing. Now, it's a lot of these Mediterranean spices. So in this case, let's take a look. We've got sage, rosemary, thyme. Okay, now rosemary is extra unique because rosemary contains rosmarin, okay, which also has an additional property when it comes down to fat adaptation. So this isn't like some miracle thing that's going to magically make you get fat adapted, but if you're doing keto and you're making a higher fat ketogenic breakfast, adding some sage, some rosemary, some thyme, things like that can make a tremendous difference in the amount of time it takes for your body to get accustomed to utilizing fats. This is very, very big if you're trying to get through that whole like kind of keto slump when you first start out. It allows your body to adapt and get used to using those fats. PPAR alpha is very unique, and it's one of the most powerful things that we can leverage when it comes down to being able to use fats better. This is perfect. Okay, let's talk about turmeric for a second. So you probably know some of the benefits of turmeric, right? Indian spice, used in a lot of different dishes, but what about utilizing it for keto? What about utilizing it for fasting? First of all, having turmeric during a fast is absolutely good to go. Okay, there's such a negligible amount of calories, you're not going to be breaking your fast, you're actually triggering more benefit. Okay, not only is it anti-inflammatory when it comes down to what's called nuclear factor kappa B, but also can help with fat adaptation, and it can also help induce autophagy. So let me explain what that means. When you are in a fasted state, your body sort of upregulates all kinds of different recovery mechanisms, all kinds of different recycling mechanisms. Okay, that is called autophagy. Basically, when your body is going through a state where it is deprived of food, it has no choice but to kind of use the resources that it has. Well, the cool thing is turmeric can induce autophagy independent of fasting. So yes, adding turmeric even to your ketogenic meals can actually trigger fasting-like effects, which is a very cool thing. Now, that aside, I think the inflammation modulating effects of turmeric are probably one of the most powerful things. There are numerous studies, over 2,000 different clinicals that demonstrate that turmeric has a powerful effect at what is called nuclear factor kappa B, which is like sort of the master regulator of inflammatory signaling. It's like the general of the inflammatory army. So if we can modulate that a little bit, then we have extra control over possibly how we feel, our mental clarity, maybe if our joints feel a little bit stiff. Now, some of that is speculative, but at the same time, when you look at the benefits of the ketogenic diet and you look at the benefits of intermittent fasting, a lot of it is potential inflammation modulation. So add to that by adding a little bit of turmeric, you're good to go. So yes, it's okay during a fast, and it's absolutely even better with keto. Now remember, one of the things that I would recommend is that you have a little bit of black pepper along with your turmeric. Now, the bottom line is that turmeric, in terms of helping you out with autophagy, you are totally fine to have it without black pepper. The turmeric and the curcuminoids can have that effect without black pepper. But if you're looking for more of the inflammatory response or the anti-inflammatory response, you do want to add black pepper because that is going to allow sort of the disarming of the liver that allows what are called curcuminoids to become more bioactive within the body. Okay, this next one is one of my favorites and one that I talk about all the time, and that is cinnamon. Okay, now cinnamon contains something known as a methyl hydroxychalcone polymer. You've heard me talk about that before. What is that exactly? Well, it's an insulin mimicker. Okay, now cinnamon's also going to have some autophagy-inducing properties as well, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, generally, I would recommend Ceylon cinnamon. That's the one that's C-E-Y-L-O-N. Okay, now there's lots of different kinds of cinnamon. We can go down that rabbit hole. I'll save that for a different video. But what is important is with cinnamon, it's always organic, okay? Go for organic cinnamon. It does make a difference. So what about this methyl hydroxychalcone polymer? What exactly does that mean? Well, it means that it allows the body to sort of allow glucose into the cell, meaning you are mimicking and having an insulin-like effect without actually having an insulin spike. Okay, so what does that mean for keto? Well, that means that you can potentially modulate your blood sugar. I say potentially because you have to be careful how we talk about that, but potentially modulate your blood sugar, stabilizing those blood glucose levels while you are doing keto. That is pretty powerful. Now, again, it's not a magic pill. It's not something that's going to just change everything, but it is something that could help you out if you feel like, hey, I just feel like a little bit hyperglycemic, or maybe I'm battling with that a little bit. Anyway, it's a big piece there. But the other one that we have to remember is it also can help modulate cortisol levels a little bit. So if you're fasting for longer periods of time, it may not be a bad idea to modulate cortisol via a little bit of cinnamon. So towards the end of a fast, I usually say have some cinnamon in some hot water before breaking your fast, because it can bring down those cortisol levels. It can also bring down glucose levels a little bit, and therefore make it so you break your fast a little bit better. But what about for keto? Well, for keto, again, it's just going to keep you a little bit more stable throughout the day. Now remember, it also has those properties when it comes down to autophagy too. So again, if we are just in a ketogenic state, but we also practice intermittent fasting now and then, it's good to still upregulate those autophagic processes within the body. It just keeps your body always understanding what is needed and what is not, what is required for function and what is not. Autophagy, we have to think of it as sort of like the survival of the fittest mechanism within your body. Okay, it's like what cells are useful, what cells are not. Exercise induces autophagy. It's not something that's just limited to fasting, but ways that we can induce it more with specific foods, turmeric, again, cinnamon, even some kinds of cumin, things like that can help out. So again, definitely a win in my book to load up on the cinnamon. Also, quick note, if you want to check out Thrive Market, that's a great place to get a bunch more spices than what you'll typically have at the grocery store, and a lot of them are sorted by category. So I put a link down below to check out Thrive Market. They're an online membership-based grocery store. They are a big sponsor of this channel, full disclaimer, but they have been for years, and they're who I use almost exclusively for pantry staples these days. So that link is down below. It'll save you 25% off your first order, along with a free gift when you use that link. So again, no more having to go to the grocery store for your pantry goods. It gets delivered right to your doorstep, couple of days, super easy, and their spice selection is like insanely good. So all the things I'm talking about today, plus much more, and realistically, probably more reasonable than most places, if you ask me. So yeah, that link is down below. Don't forget to check out Thrive Market. So big thanks to them. Big thanks to you for supporting them as well. It keeps this channel going. But also, you're gonna get some pretty wicked cool deals. So that link is down below. Oh, I see cayenne. All right, this is one. We have got to have cayenne in the mix. Now, if you can't handle straight up cayenne pepper, you can go for cayenne capsules. They really do have a similar effect, but sometimes the gelatin in there, I don't know, it messes up people's gut, or they just want it to be a little bit more pure. So a lot of times I'll start my day with like apple cider vinegar, a little bit of cream of tartar sometimes, cayenne pepper, some salt. I kind of mix it up. I have a bunch of different apple cider vinegar cocktails that I use, but cayenne is something that I almost exclusively use like in the morning. And the reason behind that is how it activates what are called TRPV receptors. Now in our gut, we have TRPV receptors, and they travel along the vagus nerve. And what they do, and what science has demonstrated, is that some people respond to it more than others, but when you have that TRPV stimulation, it triggers an adrenaline response. So that may sound bad. It may sound like I don't want my fight or flight hormones to kick in right now, but what's going to happen is your body is going to be able to upregulate fatty acid utilization. I'll explain. So you may not realize this, but a lot of fat burning happens because of adrenaline, because of cortisol, because of epinephrine. It allows the body, it basically says, hey, we need to release as much fuel into the system because there is a threat. Sometimes that threat is a spice. Now, I'm not saying that spicy foods are like so threatening that they trigger us to go into fight or flight. There's actually a direct stimulation of that TRPV receptor. So that means that we are directly and indirectly mobilizing more fats, because basically what happens is it signals that adrenaline releases, and then the body says we need to release glycogen from the muscle, we need to release fat from the tissue, because clearly this person needs energy to oppose the threat. In this case, we're getting direct stimulation of that vagus nerve via the TRPV. So you actually can get a decent metabolic boost from it outside of the fact that you're increasing thermogenesis. So the whole idea behind consuming something that's spicy, making your body temperature higher, that's really kind of a moot point. It could be, but most of the evidence is like we're talking less than 1%. But one thing that it definitely does do is stimulate an adrenaline response, and that can have an effect on beta-2 adrenergic receptors, which basically allows us to ultimately burn more fat. So prior to a workout, having something spicy, yeah, you could get in the zone faster and possibly burn more fat. It's pretty cool when you look at the literature. Let's talk ground ginger for a second, because a lot of people think you have to have fresh ginger to get the job done. I do prefer going with organic ginger when you can, but in this case, let's just talk about straight up powdered ginger. So this little sucker contains a bunch of things that are called shogalls. S-H-O-A-G-A-L, shogalls. There are 6 shogall, there's 10 shogall, okay, and they've been demonstrated in multiple studies to do powerful things. Now, 6 shogall is a powerful appetite suppressant, So if you're looking for something that might keep you a little bit more satiated during your, or in between your meals, sipping on ginger or just adding some ginger to hot water, you could use straight up ginger tea too, but a lot of times it's cheaper just to get straight ground ginger. And since we're in the spice section, let's be real here. It's something that's totally applicable. So that 6 shogall also has powerful effects, again, on that same TRPV receptor, so could affect the beta adrenergic receptors, but more so it's a digestive thing. Okay, it helps you out with, well, aiding your digestive system. So it can help produce a few more enzymes. If you're feeling like a little bit of digestive discomfort, or you're trying to just get more and you feel like the fats from keto are possibly bothering you a little bit. Anyway, ginger is also, once again, a powerful autophagy stimulator. So again, we're looking at that same kind of thing that's helping out the body's natural sort of, let's call it survival of the fittest recycling mechanisms. So during a fast, you're talking 1 to 2 calories. If you have a teaspoon of this, I think you're going to be fine. That's not going to affect you negatively. Now, if you're looking at it from a ketogenic standpoint, I would say in between meals, because it can satiate you, can help you digest, and it will make it so you're not snacking quite so much. So ginger is a huge win, and a lot of times I'll also add that to my overall like apple cider vinegar recipes too. There's one that I'm specifically looking for. Ooh, here it is. Usually it's a small thing. Oh, nice. Okay, a big old thing of cream of tartar. This is a potassium machine. Okay, so let me explain potassium really quick, and I promise I'll spare you some of the details, okay? Because if you look at this detail here, it says potassium bitartrate, right? Okay, so we have straight up potassium. So if you are someone that is maybe cramping during the day, or more importantly, pay close attention to this, cramping during a workout, that is generally a sign of a potassium deficiency, or just being depleted in it. If you're cramping after a workout, or like leg cramps at night, that is usually indicative of a magnesium issue. Potassium is directly involved in sort of the recoil of sodium. So for sodium to get into our cell, it needs potassium to sort of pull the slingshot back. I want you to imagine a sodium molecule. Okay, that sodium molecule injects into the cell to create an action potential, or to assist in the action potential actually causing movement and action. Okay, well, if that sodium doesn't have potassium, there is no slingshot to actually sling the sodium into the cell. So the sodium's just there, not able to do anything. So what happens? Well, the cell locks up and cramps up because it's stuck in the on position, because it's not having that efflux of pulling sodium out and then injecting it back in. So potassium is so important, but also just on a ketogenic lifestyle, someone's not happy. Just on a ketogenic lifestyle in general, you want to make sure that you're adding more electrolytes into the mix, because it's super, super important as the kidneys are expelling extra water and therefore extra minerals during your ketogenic lifestyle. So cream of tartar is another one. I usually base it upon how hard my activity is. Like if my activity level is a little bit higher, I will add cream of tartar to my morning cocktails. Again, with apple cider vinegar, or I might just add it throughout the day. It's easier than me just taking a potassium supplement. It's easy, and it's just, I can add it to water. It does have a little bit of a funny taste, but again, something that you can take during a fast and during keto. Okay, now I don't want you necessarily abusing this, but this next one has something kind of interesting about it. Okay, maybe you've heard of nutmeg having something to do with like hallucinogenics, right? You would have to consume a ton of nutmeg to give it that effect. Where'd it go? I just saw it here. Hang on one second. Okay, so it contains something called myristica. Now, the cool thing is, in small amounts with nutmeg, it can actually be a little bit of a mental stimulant. Okay, it's sort of like you see a lot of research with lion's mane, you see a lot of research with adaptogenic mushrooms and things like that. Okay, if you go too far in any of that direction, sure, you start having the hallucinogenic-like effect that we're not after. Again, you would get digestive discomfort from nutmeg before you ever got any benefit or fun there, let's call it that. But the reality is a small amount of nutmeg, like a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon, although still a powerful flavor, can actually stimulate your brain just enough to allow you to feel a little bit of a cognitive boost. It's kind of interesting stuff. I've messed around with it. I don't really like the numbness that I get in the mouth. So I've tried it before when I'm filming, like when I try to be, I want to make sure I'm super articulate, make sure that I'm on my game with my research and stuff. But my mouth gets kind of numb and I feel like I'm talking kind of funny. So it doesn't really work for me in that case, but if I'm just thinking, it actually works pretty well. So I'll just sprinkle a little bit in my tea or something like that. Pretty effective. All right, let's address the elephant in the room. Does Thomas have bad breath? Because I do keto. Maybe you've heard of keto breath before. Okay, let me cover something really quick. Keto breath is usually only towards the beginning stages of keto, and it's kind of a sweet smell. But I figured, let's bring this up, right? You've heard of cardamom before. Okay, check this out. So I found some cardamom right here. Not only is it a powerful taste, my wife has made some tremendous desserts with cardamom. We have an Indian friend, and they, oh, sorry, that's the cinnamon. Where'd the cardamom go? Hang on a second. Losing my mind here. There's so many spices. I guess none of these are helping with my eyesight. So there's a bunch of different antioxidant properties, but here's the thing. I don't like adding a bunch of antioxidants during a fast or even during keto. Sure, your diet should be rich in antioxidants, but I don't like adding extra amounts to get an antioxidant effect because I feel like your body should really just do its own job of upregulating its own natural antioxidants within itself, right? Like glutathione, all that stuff. If we add too much in the way of exogenous antioxidants, then we're taking away from the body's ability to sort of upregulate its own, like we're doing it for it and it's enabling the body. But one of the things I do like most about cardamom is it's a powerful natural diuretic. So sometimes people fast because they want to drop some water weight, or they do keto because they want to drop water weight because you lose a lot of muscle glycogen, so therefore you drop some water weight. But if you ever feel just kind of puffy, maybe you had a bunch of sodium, or maybe you're just fighting some allergies or something, cardamom could be a good solution for that because it does have a powerful diuretic effect. Okay, they've even done it in clinicals where they take a look at people with high blood pressure, give them cardamom, and it can actually cause a powerful effect because it acts as a diuretic. So again, like a quarter teaspoon is all you'd really need. Add it to water, add it to food. These little things you can just add to your fasting regime, add to your keto regime. They can make a really big difference. So again, it's really simple. Like here it is, just basic ground cardamom. You just add it to whatever you want. Okay, very simple. Okay, one last one, and then I'm gonna get out of your way and let you get on with your day. Where did it go? Here it is. Okay, celery seeds. Okay, so you can do ground celery seeds, straight up celery seed. Again, nothing to it other than celery seeds. Now, full disclaimer, a lot of people on the internet are going to say that celery seed is this super crazy powerful thing. It's really pretty mild. Like any effect that you're getting from celery seed, again, they can say the antioxidant effect, they can say some antibacterial effect, which you can say about a lot of spices, but I feel like it's not stretching the truth, but it's embellishing a little bit because I feel like they're just trying to find this alternative thing. When in reality, like we have to still embrace Western medicine. There's a lot of like really good proactive stuff that's happened there, and I'm not saying that we should just turn to only this kind of stuff. But what we have seen that's kind of interesting about celery seed is, again, yes, the antibacterial component, but more importantly, I mean, it does have a nice iron content. Now, I want to be honest with you here. I mean, I have to be straightforward. I don't think we have an iron problem. I don't think most people are deficient in iron, even though it seems like they are. We have stored states of iron and we have blood states of iron. So a lot of times we'll have high amounts of stored iron but lower blood levels, which doesn't mean we need more iron. It usually means we need more magnesium, we need more copper, zinc, things like that to allow that whole root cause issue to kind of flip and allow some of that iron to actually be available. That being said, because celery seed is so rich in iron, it can be positive for red blood cell formation, which can be very good for energy. So if you're in an energy slump, it's an easy thing to test out. You might feel it. Anyway, things are getting a little bit crazy here, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. So celery seed would be okay on keto. I wouldn't recommend it during a fast because there is a little bit of fat content with the seed itself, but during keto, it's great. So I hope that this video really just helped you out a little bit, showed you what you could have. And don't forget to check out Thrive Market down below in the description. And as always, I will see you very soon.